see if I can reduce my stash of mists and mainly keep the ones that are functioning for me. I'm going to have one rule: if it sprays, it stays. So if the mist still works out of the bottle, then keep it, and if it doesn't work, then I have to figure out whether it's worth trying to clean the mister, put it in a different bottle, probably not, or if there's something else I can do with it. So we're going to explore my mist. This is where they have been, on the top of this cabinet, and the reason I'm mainly doing this is I keep knocking them off. They've been there for years, but for some reason lately I'm knocking them off. The other reason is I have something else in mind that I would like to put in this space. So much so that I'm not even going to finish this video before I take them down and perhaps relocate an item off my work table. My pared down collection of mists are going in this basket, and I did already test it to see if I could just fit them all in here and forget about it, and then I could sort them out as I use them. But they won't fit all in this basket. I didn't think they would, so I need to get rid of about 10 bottles minimum of mist. So the first thing I'm actually going to do is go through, and anything that there's hardly anything left is out of here. And there are some that I know I'm keeping. My if it sprays, it stays rule. These I haven't had very long, and I know there's still so much mist in them that I'm fairly sure they spray. I'm not even going to bother with it, and those are going to go into the basket right away. But let's look and see what I have so little of that I need to get rid of. And I'm going to start with these October Afternoons. These are wonderful, wonderful colors, but there is very little left in this blue or the green bottle, and so I don't think I'm going to keep either one of them. Even though they're great colors, there's just not much left. So those are going out. This was one that I made myself. No, this is one where there wasn't a lot left, and the sprayer stopped working, and so I put it in its own bottle. This is one I made myself, and I've used this a lot. That has Baja Breeze ink and Perfect Pearls. I'm actually going to, well, this is so similar, I think, to some of these other colors that I have from Tattered Angels. I think I'm going to get rid of those too as well. So there's 4. I'm going to try this one and see if it still sprays. It's an unusual color. And let's see what else we've got here. The rest of these are going to need to be tested out. Oh, my favorite, favorite, favorite Mr. Huey's. I have tons of this, but I never use it. This opaque white, I just can't figure out what to do with it. It doesn't really do anything. So I may test it and try it on something, but it's probably not going to last long. Okay, I've got a few here that don't have much in them. I hate to get rid of them, but there's hardly anything there, so there's really no point in hanging on to them. Most of them, though, have enough that I'm willing to hang on to them. That one's not much. There's 6 bottles. This is a color I don't, it's the only red I have, though. Well, no, I have Rudolph. I think I'm going to get rid of this. This thing is messy as it can be, so I really shouldn't hang on to that one. That's unusual for Mr. Hughes. They've been really good mists. Okay, so I need at least 3 more bottles to go. And I'm going to look at all of these. The Heidi Swaps probably still working. I still like those. This one doesn't have much left in it, but it's silver, so I use the silver and the gold a lot. And I definitely want to look at these dilutions. These things are gorgeous colors, but they are so messy to use. You can see the ink spraying on the bottle. So I'm going to see if these spray. And all of these, we'll check the spraying quality of them. The Mr. Huey's, I think, work. But here's several that I want to check and see if they spray. And if they don't, then we'll make a determination. And maybe that will be the way we get rid of what is there. And let's also see if we can find some cool ways to use some of these mists so that they're not just hanging around in this basket, they're actually doing something.
Well, you've already seen that I've not following some of my rules here in terms of if it sprays, it stays, because I pulled out a couple of there that were low in quantity of mist, and even without even testing them, I know they spray, but they're things that I was saying I was going to get rid of. I am going to use them again here in just a few moments. I found some surprises in what sprayed and what didn't, and I did try to clean the tops of some of the mists here. I'm wiping the tops of them with a little bit of alcohol on paper towel. That helped a little bit. I didn't get to like taking the sprayers apart. There was nothing that I really wanted to do that for. There was one mist there, a blue one, that I'm trying to get from Heidi Swapp to spray, and it doesn't, but I am going to do something with it here in just a moment as I move to my art journal. Here's what I have left in all my mists. That one blue one from Heidi Swapp, I really want to keep it, so I want to see if some other ways I can use it. And there are a couple that I was going to throw out, but I'd like to use them at least one more time. They don't have much mist left in them. So I have an old paintbrush, my art journal, which I haven't used in quite some time. And I'm just going to start adding some mist to this page. It's a pretty yellow color. Add a few green drops from the October Afternoon Mist. And then this was one that I just could not get it to spray. Most of the Heidi Swapps did spray, but this one just would not. So I'm just painting it down the edge. And I remember this being a blue that I really liked. Don't really love it here. So, you know, it's on the still not sure whether I want to keep it at this point. If it won't spray and I'm not crazy about the color, that would lend itself to being something that goes out. On the other hand, I know I've used this in scrapbooks. I know I've used dropped it or misted it on pages, and I really liked it, and it worked well with my photographs. So, that's a reason why I might keep it. I'm still playing a little bit here. I thought I might add some of this red, but I want to keep it contained. And remember, this is one that I just said I'm throwing it out because it makes such a mess. I've got my gloves on. Turns out it doesn't spray. So that settled that question. But since I have this already masked off, I did some blue in that October Afternoon color. The reason that one is so low is I spilled a bunch of it one time, which is such a shame because it's such a pretty color. It's a little bit of some Tattered Angels that had gotten put in a different bottle. I have other greens that are more similar in color. Now I thought I experimented by putting some masks that I punched just using different punches that I had in my drawer and then misted over them. This would have been fine, except that what I decided to do after I pulled up my mask is I had some blobs of color there, and I decided to sort of spread those around, and I made a mess. But that's okay. When you have a layer you don't like in an art journal, you can just cover it up with something else. So that's what we're going to do coming up here in a moment. I'm kind of pressing the pages together, getting some of those dots spread into each other. Now, one thing that usually rescues stuff is book paper. So I've picked out several just random sheets of a couple of pieces of book paper, piece of sheet music, and I'm going to do some misting on them, but I thought I would draw some shapes first. I will cut these shapes out once I get the mist on there for color. And some of the mists I'm using are ones that I'm going to keep. I just thought it would be fun to play with some of the different colors. I'm going to do some flowers. It's very basic flower design. These markers are Faber-Castell, and they're permanent markers because mists will make they're water-based, and they would make other water-based things run. A couple of the dilutions, they put out a lot of ink, but they do make some pretty colors. And this was a Prima one that was always supposed to be like that would spray really, really well. I've had mixed results with this. And those need to dry, and then I can cut out the designs. And I'm putting a pair of gloves in that basket so I will remember to use gloves. the next time I do something with the mists. All right, I let those pages dry and I just went ahead and fussy cut around those really simple images or designs, and now we're going to lay them out on the art journal page. So I've just taken book paper, used permanent marker to outline my designs, misted, and then cut it out. That's all I'm doing. And gluing them on. And I'm going to draw in my stem. And we're going to keep this nice and simple, and then I will manually, or just to handwrite on some words for what I want to say on my art journal page.
Well, I know I started doing this just as a way to use up some of my mists or use them one last time and kind of sort out which ones I wanted to keep. But I'm really glad I did this. When I looked back, I don't know when I did this little bit of scribbling. Well, I do too. It was last December, but I never finished it. The last time I finished a complete page in my art journal was over a year ago. This is kind of interesting that it's been a full year, and if I thought about what all have happened in the last year, I could have a lot of stuff to talk about in this art journal and where I was a year ago and where I am now. And that's a little bit about what this page is all about with the values. I did an exercise 20 years ago in a book that I read that had you identify your values, and it was Managing by Values by, I think is the name of it, by Ken Blanchard. It's a business writer. And I've done exercises since then, but I always come back to the same ones. What's interesting is that while I have the same values today as I had 20 years ago, or over 20 years ago, I feel the importance of different ones have changed, and the way that they come out in my life has changed. And I was also thinking about a close family member that we're very different, or I feel like we're very different, but if she were defining her values, I bet she would, and from a list, she would probably pick a lot of the same ones that I do. They just come out in her life a little bit different than they do in mine. So we have a lot of things in common, or a lot of our core in common, but the way we express ourselves and what's important to us from within those values is very different. So it's just been a very interesting thought process. So I thought I'd put a little bit of that down in this page. And I have this sort of basic flower design. I don't know how to draw. I can't draw. So I just have this basic flower design that often comes out, but I had fun with it. And things that make pages work for me, or book paper is one of the reasons I keep coming back to book paper, because it just adds so much dimension to a page, but also contrast. I had all this green and blue, and it was kind of boring and didn't really look like it was really going to do anything with this page. And adding some contrasting colors, things on the opposite side of the color wheel, just really made the page come to life, I think. The only thing, I'm still surprised at this border. That color I thought was a lot prettier than that, and it doesn't look that great here. It's fine for a border here, but I do use that color sometimes on scrapbook pages, so I kept that particular mist. And then I've kept a lot of other mists, and I have put them to use a little bit today, and hopefully I'll use them in some scrapbook pages. I just need to do photos. One of the reasons I haven't scrapbooked in a while is because I really, really, really need to edit and print some more photos. So thank you for coming along on this journey that started out as a cleanup journey and got me actually back to my art journal. I don't know if I'll do more pages with it or not, but it was fun to do. Thanks again, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, I'd love to get a thumbs up. I always appreciate comments. Constructive criticism is helpful to me to know what you like. I have new series. I've been doing a lot of quilting. That's another reason I haven't been scrapbooking. Been doing a lot of quilting. I'm not right now. Messy hands. But I've been just doing some practicing stuff today, but learning to free motion quilt. I've been talking about that in some of my videos and my creative journal, and that's one of the things I commented on here, is that creativity has become an even more important value to me in the last few years, and especially the last year. So thanks so much for joining me, and I hope you'll come back for another video later on.